I noticed in one of my recent flights here with this tiny cart 2-incher that I've been flying that I had some vibration getting into the Runcam Thumb Pro here using my mount that I had originally, which is this one here. Now the mount on the tiny cart is just it's like a mini GoPro mount, but it's using a 3mm hole in a small little tab here. The original mount that I made for it, I had this in the back, so basically it would be easy to print on the 3D printer. Wouldn't have to have supports. And it turns out that this actually has a little bit too much flex to it, I thought. So I abandoned this one. I basically just added a stiffener block of TPU as a test, put it back on there, and it definitely helped it. So it's saying that you needed something to be a little more sturdy. Then I built this one, which is using a half moon type of mount instead of having it on the back, and that's definitely a very stiff arrangement, but I was still not satisfied with the vibrations I was getting through. So I went on to Betaflight and I showed you a way that I could test each motor to see which ones, if any of them, were causing excessive vibration. The point is that rather than try to solve it at the mount level, I thought maybe I could solve it by doing something in the frame itself. So what I rigged up was just a little box with a hole in it so I can get the Betaflight cable connected through. Got a battery on it, got the battery connected to the quad. I'm into Betaflight. I'm all connected up. I'm into the motors tab, and you can see you can set up here the scale for the accelerometers, gyro I mean, and if I tap the quad, you can see I can tap it and you can see you can get a pretty big spike. I'm just tapping it with my finger and you're getting this responses here. That says when you turn the motors on, you'll be able to individually see what's happening here. So as we all know, there's a little tab down here you have to hit, and again I got the motors at 0. I do have the props connected because I actually want to see if if I have problems with a particular motor prop combination. So you got to be very, very careful here of what you're doing. So I'm going to hit yes, I understand what's going on. And then I'm just going to gradually raise up each motor here to measure what the impact is on the gyro. And I've been going up to 1246 on the RPM. Kind of my standard, and measuring what I'm seeing there on the deflection. And right now you can see it's generally in about the ±2 on the scale. I can do that for each motor. That way you can find out which particular motors you're having trouble with. Now you can also go over to the master here, and it turned out in my setup here I know I can get to 1246 without the quad taken off, and then it seems like you'll get a so this is kind of the worst case scenario. You can see together we're getting anywhere between 5 and 10 on the peaks, sometimes up to 10, -10 on the y-axis. So this is a way where you can kind of diagnose one motor or a set of motors on your quad with props and everything, but just be very, very careful doing it. So what's the next step? So what I just showed you on the Betaflight there was actually after I had installed these little anti-vibration, just pieces of TPU between the motor and the frame. That had, prior to that, every every motor was giving me plus or minus 5 or more on the deflection there on each of the axes. When I put these in, they're all down to, you know, 2 to 3, plus or minus 2 to 3 on that axis. And so you can see that things were pretty flat on that display I just gave you, just on each motor standpoint. Significantly down. It's at least 50% reduced as far as the number goes. I don't know what it is dB wise exactly, but it's significantly less vibration getting into the frame from the motors. So I definitely would say get yourself, print up some of these. All I did was download a similar one on Thingiverse that were for larger motors, and I just scaled them down to work with the small whoop motors. But then now to double check that I'm actually getting good footage out of the thumb, here's what I decided to do. Is I'm just going to put one of my parts boxes here, which has some text on it, and then I'm going to put the quad here, film that, and then with my transmitter I'm going to obviously start recording on the thumb, but then on the transmitter I'm going to raise the RPM until it's about ready to take off, and then I'm going to add this weight here on top so it definitely won't take off, and we'll be able to see how clear the lettering is on the parts box as I'm ramping up that RPM. And even though this is not exactly perfect scientific test, it should give you an idea of if there is vibrations from the motors getting in through the frame up to the mount, how substantial it is. So with that, I'm going to run that, and then I appreciate you watching. Let me know your thoughts.